Good evening. The opinions and statements voiced by our guests do not necessarily reflect the opinions of this network. Enjoy the shows.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army. Army officers say the missile, found sometime last week, has been inspected at Roswell, New Mexico, and sent to Wright Field, Ohio, for further inspection.
Now, historic films made in the spring of 1948 and just released show Eniwetok preparing for heavily guarded and still largely secret tests of new atomic weapons. The test's purpose is to measure atomic effects on thousands of different materials, 30,000 tons of them, not, as at Bikini, to prove military effectiveness.
San Francisco police say that 9 persons have been arrested in a narcotics raid on the headquarters of the Grateful Dead, a widely popular singing group. 2 members of the group, Rod McKernan and Robert Weir, and their business manager, Danny Rifkin, have been booked on suspicion of possessing narcotics.
3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour. Liftoff on Apollo 11. Tower cleared.
Here we got a roll program. Neil Armstrong reporting their roll and pitch program, which puts Apollo 11 on a proper heading.
I'm going to step off the limb now. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Well, strange lights are causing a viral buzz on YouTube. Could we have caught extraterrestrial activity on a recent newscast? Brandon Arroyo investigates.
As the newscast ended, the controversy began back on September 26th. What is that light shining in the back of the dark night sky?
With coverage reaching all the way back to 1948, for over 70 years, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Now, Fate Magazine Radio is carrying on that tradition of setting the standard in paranormal talk radio as we report and discuss some of the most mysterious and perplexing phenomena imaginable in this strange world of ours. Now, here is your host of Fate Magazine Radio, Kat Hobson.
Good evening. Welcome to Fate Mag Radio, the online voice of Fate Magazine. I am Kat Hobson, your host, and I'm so glad that y'all are here. You know, it really is funny how the universe works. You know, you'll have the best laid plans, and then poof, angst, anxiety, catastrophe, and even in your mind, disorganization, chaos, you know, cats sleeping with dogs. We just don't know. But there are ways that we can adjust and relax and just stay centered and focused and stuff. I am very fortunate because I have the opportunity to meet so many people with what I do. And I've done it for a long time. And I'm so blessed, and I know that. I am really thrilled to be bringing you someone who is voice of wisdom in chaos, who can help people and helps me a lot of times with the things that she shares. She is the voice of positivity for me every morning when I get online, and I'm not the only person. And, you know, y'all have heard her before. And I'm really excited to be bringing her to you again. And before we get started, I do want to let y'all know I'm not in my jammies. I'm at the beach. You're going to hear spring breakers probably at some point in time. Just relish them having fun, because I try to do that too. But tonight, our guest is the Reverend Dr. Rhonda Schienle. Right?
Woohoo! She said it. She said it, girl.
You'll have to realize that the first time that we did this, I stumbled over that all the time. It was so funny. And we are very kind of compatriots in our outlook on life most of the time.
Yes. Yes.
I think that sometimes I get flustered. And, it seems like the more that you're trying to fix things, sometimes the more difficult they become before they get better.
Right.
Don't you
right.
think that?
Yeah. And let me start by saying thank you so much, Kat, for having me on. And Kat and I were just having a quick chat before we started. And what is so unbelievably touching about tonight's talk and about divine and the way things come together and unfold. So here I am posting something on Friday that's talk about chaos and, just things that are going not so good. And I'm writing about my home that fell through and I didn't know, but Kat was writing me, messaging me, and about coming on and talking about, trials and tribulations and angst and going through all of us, our collective world and everything. And I thought she was responding to what I wrote, but she wasn't. You guys, this is how beautiful and divine that is. I thought, oh, she just read about my home. No, now she goes back and she says, oh, Rhonda, I am asking you to do a radio show and something not so good happened to you. And I said, oh, no. This is perfect, Kat. It really is. That was a divine moment. And you couldn't have done that in such a more timely way. And here I thought you were writing me because of what I wrote. And you were writing me as I was typing my woe is me moment, right?
Well, it's so weird, right? Because
yeah.
Because when I read that, I knew what you felt in your gut. Right?
Yeah.
Because you had a commitment to be gone.
Oh, yeah.
And
all of
a sudden, it's like, whoa,
Right.
That had to be so disconcerting. And
it was, and it wasn't. And that's why I was writing. Things happen as you were saying. Here you want to do this radio show. I'm thinking, this is why she's probably asking me, because of what I just wrote, that things tend to happen the way they need to. They need to happen the way it's supposed to. And let me tell you all something. I'm sharing something. It's not like it's something, like
deep dark secret.
Deep dark secret. The house that Mike and I were looking at, we thought it was our dream home and wow home. And yes, it's like, but everything that was happening, Kat, everything that was happening with that home was like it was slogging through molasses. It was, things weren't checking off and the home inspection didn't come through good. And things were just falling apart each step we took. And that's something I'd like to share, is that when something is kind of not, and I don't want to say perfect, but not gliding. It just felt like everything wasn't right. And not only that, your body tends to feel that.
Yes.
Right? Some people can say, and I kid you not, these are actual words I've used in buying a different home. I have a sinking feeling something's not right. This was a home from like 8 years ago, 9 years ago. And what had happened, just think of those words. I have a sinking feeling. And unbeknownst to us, Kat, there was a cut sewer line when they built the home. So the whole front yard was sinking. It was sinking. See what I mean? So I'm sharing with your listeners, this couldn't have been a more perfect time to share these actual circumstances, because your mind, body, and spirit they pick up that energy, and you can almost say things like what I just shared with you. I have a sinking feeling. It makes me sick to my stomach. Okay, you see what I'm saying?
I do.
Oh, it just makes my head. And so your body is literally and figuratively responding to a situation. And it seemed like every step we were taking towards this home, it was not coming together.
Wow.
And for physical safety, health safety, okay, it did not pass inspections, and it was not meant to be. And so we were letting them know respectfully, because of that, we need to gracefully bow out with, we're not angry. Things happen, and, and so even that wasn't perfect, but, they didn't want to let us out, give us a chance to fix it. And it was like, I knew it wasn't getting better to be resolved, but at the same time, it truly was. And this is something I would love to say, Kat. When things are not working, you'll tend to get these, I call it a door closing. It's like the divine universe is saying, I will start cutting this off, this section off, that section off, and you won't go to the next step, right? You probably have experienced that. It's like I woke up and it's like I couldn't even get to noon today, because every step I took and everything that happened, it's like it just did not unfold very well. And that's because, to me, from my experience, and the divine, how beautiful it works, because it is perfect in its own way. It's beautiful. It's us that get in the way, but and when you fight it, this resistance, we could talk about that.
Yes.
But it's giving you a message. It's giving you, and so it will start putting up little barriers, so you can't go any further. But as humans, Kat, what are we trying to do? Oh, I'm going to mow down that barrier. By God, I'm just going to plow right on through it. We'll make it work.
And it is.
And
it's
there's
like
this
a
quote,
Jingo. You can't tell me no. I want that.
Yeah.
Yes, I know.
Right.
I feel that.
Right.
I am
right.
that. I'm often that.
One of my favorite quotes by Oprah, she says, "You'll notice there's always the tap first at the door. And then there is a knock. Tap, knock, loud bang, then you got the wrecking ball, right? It's like, boom, I got to come in. If I can't get your attention at a tap and a knock, then I got to get a little louder for you to say this isn't the best."
Yes. Well, I have to tell you that in chat, it's really fun, because we have got Robert, who is saying, yes, this. And he says, as an author, sometimes a piece bogs down, and yet sometimes an article writes itself as if it was meant to be written. And, there are times that the cosmos speaks.
Right? Exactly.
That, by the way,
Beautifully said.
So that was Robert Gorman.
Thank you for sharing that. How true is that? And sometimes I call that the divine flow. And some people have called that the runner's high, when they're running and they're just in that glide and they're running and jogging and everything is just flowing so effortlessly, right? And Kat, with your radio show, some just smooth sailing, it's just beautiful, and some have hiccups and some are stressful, and it's like some
are absolute
and it just
catastrophes. Yes. But but not always.
Not always. Exactly.
And
it sure does.
And if you trust the universe and quit trying to do it yourself, then I find that life is much, much better, and things work the way they're supposed to, as opposed to, I'm doing a renovation here. When I started doing this renovation, it was going to be my way or the highway. I was going to do a lot of the work myself. I was going to do it all, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I couldn't hire even a handyman because nobody wanted to work because everybody had COVID money, right? So nobody wanted to work. And it's hard enough because this is a resort town. By the way, we're coming to you from beautiful downtown Gulf Shores, Alabama. And actually it's West Beach, but who's picky? And I couldn't get anyone to help me. I went to the big box stores, right? And tried to get the pro desk to help me. And the people they referred me to were dipsticks because they didn't think I knew what I was talking about. So, yeah, because I'm old, I'm female. Well, I'm not that old. I'm female. I sound like this, you know. And I've got news for people. Southern women are majestic and smart. And if you try to mess with us, we don't tolerate that well. I had a man that wasn't going to lift a finger until I paid him in full. I was like, well, then you're going to be hungry next week because I'm not paying you. And so here I am later. I mean, I don't mind buying materials, but I'll buy them, right? But anyway, here I am months, almost a year down the road, and I'm getting some of the finishing touches done Monday and Tuesday. But it took so long to get this done. And I'm just kind of like, well, I'm not sure what I think of this. So today, when we spoke, when you got on, I was just kind of like, I'm in the middle of chaos, but it won't be chaos on Tuesday, right? So I get, well, I mean, you're in the process of moving, and I'm preaching to the choir here, right? But
it's an experience. And like you said, it's never boring. Hey, at least you're out there doing things, and you know, it's like you're not doing nothing. And you know, when I hear the word chaos, one of the things I thought of right when you were sharing that even earlier, and even what I was going through when I was writing on Friday, and that there's a saying that I like to say, one to myself is, bring it back. And what that means is bring it back to home, bring it back here. And I have a visual of a fishing pole, which I love it, because when you throw that line way out, you know, and you got your little bobber and it gets out there and it's just kind of swaying and going, it's getting into all kinds of things, and you get so far out, and that's your chaos. That's your stress. You're sitting there thinking, oh my God, I'm not going to find the person to fix the house, right? And the handyman, and oh my God, where am I going to find it? So your line is all the way out, your bobbers, you know, going up. And so that's why I say, reel it in.
Yes.
And if you can visualize, it's a helpful tool for me. And if it can help somebody else, because I could actually sit there and just say, bring it back, bring it back, bring it back, bring it back. Because the more I think about something, the home, oh my God, you know, what are we going to do? This house closes on the 14th of April. It feeds itself.
Yes.
Brilliantly said. It feeds itself. And then you got yourself off in this tangent, right? And you're just thinking in all these different directions. And I'm thinking, now we have no home. April 14th. Literally, we close on the 14th. That, you know, and we found a new home already.
I know.
It's empty and it's been fully remodeled. See?
So you don't even have to
this
touch
one's
it,
gliding.
Yeah. It's just.
Right?
Yes.
And I'm hoping, you know, we're not there yet, but you know, this is the difference from that energy to this energy. And that's why I'm grateful doing this show, that there's something actually happening right now that I can share of my experience about this topic. Because to me, moving is a very big, you know, thing in someone's life. And 8 years here, and my husband and I, you know, so it's big. It's big.
Well,
it's a lot of work,
in
too.
20 years, or more than 20 years. And I can't even imagine trying to get everything put together and thinking everything was hunky-dory, having already started the process, especially in your mind, right? And then
right.
And then you have to put the brakes on. That would be so, to me, because I'm maybe sometimes kind of a control freak. I've heard that, but I don't know if it's true. And, but it just seems like that would be the absolute eek moment.
Yeah.
Really. You know what? I'm going to have to interrupt us because we're going to have to take a quick break.
Okay.
And we'll be right back. And everyone listening, y'all come back too.
Warning, the following message does not necessarily reflect the views of WBHM-DB or its hosts, guests, listeners, or of any functioning adult in general. In fact, Frank should probably seek professional help. Listener discretion is advised.
Hi there, Frank Lee here. I thought that I would spend a few moments telling you about the positivity from the network here. The overall message of para-unity and happiness, and how everyone here wants to get along with everyone out there, and how everything is just wonderful. Wait, Cat's not looking. Okay, I've got something to really tell you. Okay, so I'm going to tell you what's really going on. Honestly, all that being nice and positive crap was kind of hurting my soul, as dark as it is. So, what's really happening? Well, you see it all the time. Everybody and their brother out there has a paranormal team because they watch a couple of episodes of Ghost Hunters or some crap like that. So they go and they spend half their mortgage payment on tools and things that light up that they don't understand. And then the next logical step after buying matching black t-shirts and posing like 90s rappers for their Facebook page is to, of course, have their own podcast. Well, you know what? You're not going to find that crap here. What we have here at WBHM Digital Broadcasting is the best host, the best guest, bringing you real information. All of the hosts here on this network know their stuff. They are the people who have been out there doing the work, doing actual research. And no, by research, I don't mean binge watching some kind of cheesy TV show on Netflix. I mean reading books. I mean out in the field doing the legwork. And who are they interviewing on their shows? They're bringing you the people they have learned from. They're bringing you the best in the field, covering all kinds of topics from UFOs and aliens to Bigfoot to cryptozoology to ghosts to anything you can think of a bit strange and unexplained. It is here, and you're going to get the best information here. So stay tuned to WBHM Digital Broadcasting. Don't go anywhere. Speaking of going somewhere, I've got to go before my mic gets cut. We'll see you there on WBHM-DB.
Welcome back to Fate Mag Radio, the online voice of Fate Magazine. I'm Kat, your host, with my guest, Reverend Rhonda. And, we are just having such a great conversation because, you were relating so much about your transitioning and with the home situation, and I had not realized what caused the halt, but to be so close and then have to walk away from it, that had to be a very stressful moment when you realized that. And we're already living in a time of such great stress all the way around.
Yeah.
That was just crazy.
Yeah. And during the break, Kat, one of the things we were talking about is my daily posts. And Kat brought that up, and I'm, for what you're sharing about my home and the stress, this is why daily. And it's a beautiful routine and regimen that, for those who are learning about me, every morning I do something like a coffee post, and it's something uplifting for the day, how to start the day. And sometimes in the afternoon I do it, or what I call my coffee talks. I get on there, I go live, and there's a subject that will come up and I talk about it. One, because I know we're all going through something. And sometimes what I'm happen to be talking about, it's helping somebody, right? The subject that I'm talking about. But the beautiful post that I do in the morning is also for me, because it helps me center. And I thank you for sharing with me what it means to you that you read those. And I have had people come and tell me, and I'm thinking, all I do is post a little coffee thing and say, good morning, amazing souls, you bright, wonderful people. And but it means something. And I'll tell you what that is, Kat, what I think it is. It's not just what I'm writing, is that they know I'm going to write something every morning. There's something dependable. There's something reliable. There's something consistent there. It's like that Reverend Rhonda, it's 7:00 in the morning, she's got to be saying something here pretty soon, right? And it's just to know somebody's there to say something. So I've heard that. Yeah, don't you agree with that? Because that's what I've been told too. It's not just what I'm saying, it's knowing someone's there. So in this conversation about people in chaos, going through turmoil, our collective world, our societies, things we're dealing with, just to have something that's supportive, nurturing, just something ever so slight and comforting in the morning could just set that trajectory sometimes in the right direction for the day. It's not always perfect. It doesn't always, end that way, but it is a great start. And just, pulling like a moon deck card, just something. And I feel, Kat, that when we're collectively together, like groups coming together, and doing that coffee talk or something, look what it does for people, right? Look what that, just something so coffee talk. I get up, I go live. How about some coffee talk? Let's have a subject. And, and people are just like, they wait for it. They're excited about it. Why? Because it's relatable. We're human. We have good days, we have bad days. People are going through things in the world, selling their home, and the gun violence, the shootings at a school. And we're collectively tapped into that, right, Kat? We're tapped into that energy and frequency out there to where you could just, there it is. Yes. We could be at the grocery store and we can just walk in and feel. Yes. When things are happening, you just feel it. Yes. So this is some of my favorite topics, because I like to remind people, I like to give these kinds of tips. One is to reel it back. Get your visual of your fishing pole. Bring your line back in. Bring your bobber in. You can throw it back out at another time, but reel that in. Get centered. I love to encourage people to, if you can't meditate or go, quiet for a little bit, if it's prayer, if it's meditation, but taking your shoes off, and probably at the beach out there, Kat, it's got to be wonderful just to sink your feet. Yes. Your bare feet into the sand. It is so amazing, and it's grounding. So I encourage everyone, if you can, get your feet in the ground, because it truly, Mother Earth, and it just grounds you, and it realigns your chakras, your magnetic EMF. It just really helps with all that. It does. It does. It's a very real thing. Can't you? Yes. I can. Yes. And so, this, go ahead.
I was just going to say that, I actually had a chakra alignment when I was in Arizona, and I wasn't sure what I was going to think of that. I was stunned because, I did it with a Vortex tour, and the woman just, she had another client that she had already booked, but I was only there for that day, and the woman graciously invited me to join them. So
nice.
I met, people that the other woman was from England and was going through a very traumatic point in her life. So she was there for healing. I was there for the experience as well as healing because I wanted to see what it was like. Never had it. And the whole experience to me was life altering.
Wow.
I learned a lot about myself, but I also learned the value of positive vibration. And I seek that now. I am
good.
I actively, if I am down in the dumps and a sad sack and just not, kind of the pity party moment, then my music will reflect coming out of that. Because music is what speaks the most to me.
Same here. Same here.
My neighbors may complain. I don't know. Nobody's had the nerve to come and tell me. But, music is the easiest and fastest way to change your outlook.
That's right.
Because it feeds the soul.
It certainly does. And I'm the same way. And some people can get in the car, just roll down the windows or not, and just turn on that music and just, shut everything out and just go. And I agree. That word vibration, as you know, because we've had talks before, is very big to me. And I feel that's very essential in with this topic that we're talking about, with chaos, with trauma, with anything. The vibration is so important, and finding those things that help you raise your vibration. And I get questions about that quite a bit, like, how do you do that? How do you raise your vibration? And what things can people do? And I agree, Kat, I think music is one that resonates with you and that uplifts you. And there are feelings, here, I'd like to say this. When your vibration is going up, because when you're with, let's say you're with somebody and you're experiencing something that's like, oh God, I just don't feel good about this. And you just say, I just feel like I'm sinking in my chair. Your vibration is going down. And you also know when your vibration goes up because you just feel this happy, feeling, and things are just gliding and smooth. I call it hitting the green. It's a glow, and and I say, if you're hitting all the green lights as you're going down the road, you're in the flow, and things are good. Your vibration's up, and you're hitting it just right. So, and when you're off too, it's like, I've hit every red light all the way over here. So you just kind of know, and so those are the things I like to share, in these tips and these ideas, and what you may feel if you're in a lower frequency vibration versus an up frequency vibration. And music is definitely one. And that's why I said prayer, meditation, those, gratitude. Yeah, gratitude.
Yes.
How often do you not hear people say anymore? I don't even hear it that much. Thank you for saying that. Thank you for helping me. Thank you for opening. Where's the gratitude? It's like,
well, I had wondered that too. And, I've been curious for some time because, I was taught to be appreciative and to let people know when you are. And I kind of lost that when I was going through difficult times in my life. But I didn't lose it. I just kind of was not as open with it because people sometimes take advantage of that. Bad people.
Understood.
But when I got a little bit firmer on my foundation, I was like, it makes me happy to appreciate other people because they've done something nice for me, and I want them to know how much I appreciate it. So I made a conscious effort to go back to that because it's something that I agree it's kind of a lost effort now, but it's an interesting moment. So when you realize that that's something that's really a big deal.
Yes.
And decide that you're going to start putting that out to the world because it comes back to you. And that's not why you do it. But,
right.
You do it because that's what you want to put out. That's what you want to have your energy going toward.
Right. And so now that's getting into a world of law of attraction as well. What frequency and vibration you're on is exactly what's going to be around you. And that's why I said your day I like to start the day off with that beautiful, whatever, good morning, amazing souls. I want people to, you're loved. You are love and you are light and you're a beautiful expression of the divine. And I'm grateful for all of you out there. I really am, because you're an expression and we need you. You're here for a reason. Yes. To share, to commune, to come together, and, that kind of thing. It's sharing. And so I love to start the day that way. And so if that helps the trajectory of your day and you bring about more of that goodness, then great. I mean, if that's what helps start your day, then great. And that includes me. That's why I say I do it for me too, because if I'm doing that, I'm starting my day that way. Yes. And I know people are like, right? Kat, I kid you not. I have people that text me, did I miss your live this morning? Because I haven't seen you in a day. They actually text me if I'm not saying anything. Are you okay? Because they get used to that. Yeah, they do. They get used to that beautiful, consistent.
Without my newsletter, I would be really disappointed too. I love that. Right. And just so everyone knows, full disclosure, I do subscribe to your newsletter, and I am blessed every time. So,
thank you.
I consciously chose to do that because your energy is such a positive in my life. So I like to.
Thank you, Kat.
And I like to see where we're going too. So
right,
yeah, it's a good.
It does help, isn't it?
Important.
Right. So I call it like the weather person. If you kind of know what's going to happen, you can prepare a little bit. Not every weather person knows what's coming, like we had this past week. With snow one day and rain the next. But hey, if you do know. You can prepare a little bit better. It does. I think it's very helpful too. So I like to, with this topic of chaos and things we go through, I think law of attraction is one, because if you're now, I don't want to say, Kat, that when we have these tragedies that happen in our school, like the shootings or things, I don't want people to think of what I'm sharing that everything's glamorous and great and everybody, people have bad days. Bad things happen. And that's why I was also grateful that you're doing this show. I couldn't be more grateful. And I mean that. Talk about the word gratitude. I'm like, boy, I'm just so grateful she's doing this. Even with what's going on with me moving and everything. This is like tap, tap, Rhonda. This is a calling. Do this because people need this, and they need to be reminded there are bad days, there are sad days, there are glad days, there are mad days. We have it all. And to know that we all experience these things as a collective world together and feeling that energy. And if there's something we could provide an outlet to talk about it and to share ideas and things that I share with these wonderful people that come to me as a minister, and the type of work that I do. If I can help in any way and share some ideas, that's what I love to do. I'm not saying they're all perfect and everything works. It's just to offer some wonderful tips, and I would like to share a few more of those whenever you're ready. I'd like to continue to sharing those tonight in our discussion.
We've got to, we're going, I would be thrilled for you to do it and disappointed if you didn't, okay? But, we're going to be taking another break in about 2.5 minutes, and it's a big deal to me that you brought up the shootings and things of that nature, because things that happen that are so difficult to grasp,
right?
They're very divisive, because we always think that the other guy is the cause of that behavior because we're steered that way, and we're all just humans. The person that did that horrible act was a human who had bad wiring.
Definitely.
And they're just like there are mad animals. There are mad people, and not mad as in angry, but mad as in insane. And for anyone to do something of that nature, they have to be insane. And insanity is caused by several different things. We all have a chemical balance in our body that's supposed to be where we stay. And I don't have any problem with anyone's decision for their own lives. But I do think that there are some things that we shouldn't put into our body that are going to cause us to be that much different if you're not already carrying that, if that makes sense. You need to be careful with hormones, and you need to be careful with things that are going to change your actual physical structure, because it affects the mental structure too. And it's just, you can be angry and scream and cuss and want to take down someone else just because their thought processes may be different from yours. But every tragedy is still going to be a tragedy, no matter who you want to hold accountable for it. It's always the person that did it who's accountable, period. And there's a lot of different schools of thought on that, but I think that we need to stop blaming each other for someone completely away from us and their behaviors. Let them because I guarantee you right now, she is experiencing the results of that behavior. I don't care about pronouns right now. It's a person. And,
it's a human being. And with the tragedy, I agree to be more divided, and I understand that people do, but to find resolution, to reconcile, to find solutions, that if we could get back to that, solutions. Coming to get solutions, and getting involved in your community. And I always encourage anybody to start local in your community and what you can do, and coming together. And if you start small, you guys, it really is, that's where it begins anyway, right where you are. And then let it branch out, and to find resolve, to reconcile, support first in a trauma and tragedy, to be there to support and get the right people that are professionals to come in, those types of teams to help for traumatic situation. But it's great to already start something now in your community for anything that should happen. Have your community ready, your support system. You'll find how much that helps and brings you together versus apart.
Yes.
There are so many things that we can align with together, that we could see things together than apart. Exactly. I feel that. I've seen
too.
It.
But I also feel like we're probably going to need to take a break.
Okay.
A little late, but that's all good. We'll be right back, guys. Y'all come back too. And thank y'all for being here.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... Nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experienced Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Welcome back to Fate Mag Radio, the online voice of Fate magazine, and I'm so glad that you're here with me, Kat Hobson, and my guest, Reverend Rhonda. And, the first time that I heard you referred to that way was by Ariel.
Yep.
And I was like, well, how do you know her? And she was like, oh, you don't know Reverend Rhonda? You have got to know Reverend Rhonda. And I'm like, well, tell me about her. And so she introduced me to you. And I was just like, well, no wonder you love her, So, but there's a lot of respect that people carry for you because of your compassion and caring, not to mention the fabulous education. I mean, you have a doctorate, you've done all kinds of things. Your interfaith work is brilliant. And we didn't really get into your full bio, but when people are watching this video later, you've got quite an array of honorariums right there behind you.
I'm a professional student. I care about my people out there.
Well, you do so many different types of work with what you do. You get to do the joy of weddings.
Yes, I do.
Do the reward that comes with counseling.
Yes.
Sometimes it's not so rewarding getting there. What do you find, other than uplifting the universe through your morning postings, what do you find the most rewarding with what you do?
Wow, that's a good question. I truly do love what I do, and that it's a true, genuine passion. My weddings, as an interfaith minister in the business that I have, not only do I do weddings, as you know, which is great, but I also do funerals, celebration of life, baptism. It's the circle of life.
Yeah, it is.
It is amazing. No, it's not always fun doing funerals. I mean, why would that be fun? But you're celebrating a life, a completion of a life. You're celebrating a person. This whole beautiful, as you know, Kat, I do astrology too. So the cycles and themes, and especially cycles, you've got this whole cycle of life, birth and living, and and getting married, and this whole beautiful thing. I find that just so amazing to be a witness to that. If you baptize a child, and I get the beauty and love and grace of baptizing a baby, a child, and watch them grow up, right? I've been doing this for 12 years and they're growing up. Or I have baptized someone that's probably 12 and now they're getting married, right? Did I get to see them get married? Or I marry a couple and they go have a baby. I'm watching this beautiful cycle of life happen before me. I mean, you can't get any more precious than that. I mean,
you really can't.
I'm just so blessed. I think it's magical. It's beautiful. It's special. So what can I say? It's a good question. It's a big question too.
All the things.
And my astrology, and people say, well, oh my God, wait a minute, you're a minister and you do astrology. Well, we're talking again about cycles, themes, and patterns, right? Because that's what I wrote about in my book. So I'm fascinated by this rhythm of life, and especially out in the cosmos, because to me, they affect our everyday world. They do. It just does. I mean, I don't know how people can not, and I understand if people don't, and it's okay. But that's just my life experience, that it's real, because some of your listeners, Kat, about me, and I'm open about it, and Kat knows, because I've gone through, a major life, experience that has made me appreciate life more, which is I had stage 3 breast cancer. And while going through cancer treatment, I had a near-death experience. Yeah. So to me, life is precious. That's why you see me light up when I talk about doing weddings and, all that I do. It's like, oh my gosh, you guys, my perspective and my perception is based on my experience of going through that. Yes. I got a second chance at life. Okay. And that was 2007 when that happened. And here we are in 2023. And I've lived all this life. It's like, why do you think I wake up and
professional student? Well,
so if it helps anybody, then good. That's the best part of it all.
I'm pretty certain that it does. I mean, truly.
Thank you.
Your whole perspective had to shift so dramatically when
it did.
When you came through, not just because, I'm sorry, but that was treatment. I used to work for the American Cancer Society, and my father ran a comprehensive cancer center. So when I understand how far treatment has come, but when you were going through it, it had already come a very long way from when I was working in that field to get to that point. And it's come even farther now. And when you look at things, sometimes it was almost barbaric, the treatments for that.
Yeah.
And I would get my mother had breast cancer and ovarian cancer, both as primary sites, which is very rare. So I'm very cautious, and it's such a scary word.
It is. It is.
It's no less scary now with how far we've come than it was when my mother got that diagnosis, and she was diagnosed while she was under anesthesia. They did a lumpectomy. She woke up with a mastectomy.
Oh my!
So that was quite the thing, and that was in 1984, maybe, right in that period. So there's a lot to be thankful for with the progression of treatment. Do you feel like, do you do outreach specifically with women who experience cancer?
Yeah.
I thought you did.
Yeah.
But when we come back from the top of the hour thing, I want to get more in depth with that, if you would, with how you bring your particular method of, the positivity and the love and the light and the wonderful education that you have and the practice that you have. I'd like to address that a little bit, because I think that is a large part. The show is basically about how to survive an angst-filled world, which we are. I mean, I don't think anyone would argue that. But, that's angst in its own right.
Yep.
And, and it's not just for women. I mean, because there are men who get it. There are men who love...
Are caretakers.
Yes.
Yes.
Caretaking with that is very difficult. So, because there's all kinds of identity issues and stuff too. But I really like the part about how you bring that part of you. You're so special. About how you bring the part that is you into play with all of this, because you're amazing with that. And I think that people benefit from the person that you are. If they know your history and they experience you now, then there's so much hope in that.
A lot.
Yes.
A lot.
Bring hope.
Yeah.
That's a really good thing.
It's a darn good thing.
Yeah. Just saying.
I agree,
just
girl.
putting that out there.
Just saying. It's a wonderful thing. Yes.
That we're going to go ahead and do this break, because I am just so ready to get into more stuff. So for everyone listening, this is our top of the hour break. We'll be back in about 5. Y'all come back too. And thank you so much. If you have questions, put them in the chat room, because we've got answers.
Please.
So we'll be back.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Janine Herbst. It's the first Sunday after a gunman attacked a Christian school in Nashville, killing 3 children and 3 adults. Funerals for the victims began on Friday, and mourning continued throughout the city's churches today. NPR's Juliana Kim has more.
Woodmont Baptist Church is about 2 miles from Covenant School, where the shooting took place. It's also where nervous parents waited to reunite with their children on Monday. Nathan Parker is a pastor there, and he's been honest with his congregation that he's not okay.
Just overwhelmed, I think, is the word that I keep coming back to. Pastors are supposed to have words, and I think we've all felt a lack of words. I don't know what to say.
People across the city continue to grieve as funerals for the victims are underway. The first one was held on Friday for 9-year-old Evelyn Dickhouse. On Sunday, Parker spoke about grieving with hope, where he emphasized that mourning was not only human, but biblical. Juliana Kim, NPR News.
U.S. citizens who are trying to bring family and friends to the country want to join a lawsuit over a key immigration policy. NPR's Joel Rose has more.
The Biden administration policy allows up to 30,000 migrants per month from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela to enter the U.S. legally under so-called humanitarian parole if they have a sponsor in the U.S. But Texas and other mostly Republican-led states sued to block the program, saying the administration is overstepping its legal authority. Now a group of U.S. citizen sponsors is seeking to intervene in the case to defend the policy. Eric Sipe is one of the interveners.
It would be devastating for friends and families throughout the Americas if the program were no longer allowed to continue.
The case is scheduled for a bench trial in June before the same federal judge who has ruled against the Biden administration in other major immigration cases. Joel Rose, NPR News.
A bloody weekend is coming to a close in Ukraine as several instances of shelling spotted the nearly 1,000-mile-long line of contact between Russian and Ukrainian forces. NPR's Yuliana Haida has more.
Last December, top Russian General Valery Gerasimov vowed to take full control of Ukraine's eastern Donetsk region by the end of March. That would give credence to Russia's annexation claims over parts of Ukraine. Now, that objective has been tied up in the battle for Bakhmut, which has been raging with limited Russian success for 8 months now. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says that the battle there has been especially hot over the weekend. This coming week will be decisive, said Zelensky during his evening address, adding that the bloodshed along Ukraine's border with Russia serves as a warning for Ukrainian attempts to liberate the entire country this spring. Yulian Haida, NPR News, Kyiv.
U.S. futures contracts are trading in mixed territory at this hour. This is NPR News. In Finland, the party of popular Prime Minister Sanna Marin is trailing with most of the votes counted in the country's national election. As NPR's Rob Schmitz reports, this could spell the end of the 37-year-old's time as Prime Minister.
With more than 70% of the votes counted, Finland's opposition right-wing National Coalition Party was on track to narrowly win the country's parliamentary election in a tight three-way race. Prime Minister Sanna Marin's Social Democrats were in third place with most votes counted. The leader of the largest group in parliament gets the first chance at forming a coalition government, meaning Marin's time as prime minister could be about to come to an end.
NPR's Rob Schmitz reporting. Saudi Arabia and other major oil producers say they will cut oil production by 1.1 million barrels a day from May until the end of 2023. The move would likely raise oil prices, further straining relations between Riyadh and Washington as the world copes with inflation fueled in part by the war in Ukraine. Tom Kloza is an analyst with Oil Price Information Service.
This is probably worth another $3, $4, or $5 a barrel on the price of crude. And that means higher prices for gasoline, diesel, jet fuel, you name it.
The Saudi Energy Ministry says its cuts of 500,000 barrels a day are in addition to a reduction announced last October, describing the move as a precautionary measure aimed at stabilizing the oil market. Crude oil futures are trading higher at this hour, up about 7% at $81.07 a barrel. I'm Janine Herbst, NPR News.
Hi, it's Terry Gross, the host of Fresh Air. We bring you in-depth, long-form interviews with actors, directors, musicians, authors, journalists, and more. Listen to our Peabody Award-winning Fresh Air podcast from WHYY and NPR.
Listen to this podcast sponsor-free on Amazon Music with a Prime membership or any podcast app by subscribing to NPR News Now Plus at plus.npr.org. That's plus.npr.org.
Welcome back to Fate Mag Radio. I'm so glad you're here. And if you have not checked out Fate Magazine lately, well, why not, right? Because we're great. I can say that. I don't write the magazine, but we do have some wonderful authors, that submit. We have Nick Redfern, we have David Weatherby, we have Cheryl Costa, who didn't even know that she had gotten her article, her story written until she was on the show with me. So you never know. Submit something. If you've got a great history or a great idea or you're doing research, let us know. And you can find us at www.fatemag.com. So check it out. We've got new issues. We have got archives. There's something for everyone. And you just never know what you're going to find there. Ask Cheryl Costa. So, Rhonda, I am so glad that you are here. And I think you're right when you say that this was a show that was meant to happen.
Oh, yeah.
And we do have a question for you from Robert in chat. So, he was like, Sister Sage. Yes, she is.
That's me.
That is her. So.
Oh, I love it. Thank you. Thank you.
And I did not put that in the show stuff. I should have done that. I'm so sorry, because that gets me through the day or the month.
Well, I didn't write it either.
So, Robert wants to know more about the NDE.
The near-death experience.
Yes,
I'd love to share about that. And in fact, I'm writing a book. I have all the information and the outline to it because I feel this information that I received in the near-death experience is to be shared with everyone. And again, I had it because I was going through cancer treatment and I had an allergic reaction. I was already in the intensive care and my husband was in the room. And when that happened, I went out of my body. The doctors, everybody was trying to revive me, all of that, everything. And I ultimately went out of my body. And what I can tell you all is at first I could hear, like an out-of-body experience, the doctors talking and here's something very important that I want to start with, that when I first went out of my body, what I was hyper-focused on, and this is so big and so key, I was focused on the EKG machine that was mounted on the wall. Because I went into what was called supraventricular tachycardia. And that's a mouthful. I went into, and I was about to stroke out. That's what was happening. And all the bells and whistles went off. But I was focused watching my heart rate climb, right? 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, 120, 130. It was already up there, 170. I was watching this thing and I was screaming and I went out of my body. But because I was watching that, my husband was in the room. I wish he wasn't to see that. But when you're focused on something, you all, and when I went out of my body, I went right to the EKG machine, meaning my soul went out of my body. I went to the EKG machine so much so that I was looking at literally the TM trademark sign. And you want to know how small that little trademark, I could see it as if, and let me say this, when it happened, this was later realizing, because, you think it's the drugs, you're having some kind of a reaction, because I was telling my husband, why did they slam the EKG machine in my face? Why would they move it? That never happened. He was in the room. I went to it, right? I went to it. And what I want to say about that is what you focus on, you will go to. You will attract. You will go to. No, that's why I talk a lot about, in my spiritual laws group, law of attraction. What you focus on is what you attract. And here is a literal description. I went out of my body because I'm screaming at the EK machine saying, stop, go down, because I'm watching it climb to this crazy number, right? And the next thing I know is I had to have left that room, because the next thing I saw was this. People talk about the light, but mine wasn't like going through a tunnel. It was like coming up through the ground, and this beautiful golden sun, like in a valley, right? And this hilltop. And it was so gold. It's like I came up from the ground, and it's like it was so warm and so loving and just gorgeous and just filled with this beauty. And a lot of people with an NDE have a hard time explaining that. Sometimes there are not words to describe, but I can tell you that love feeling. And I didn't see God or Jesus or anything, but I felt I was in familiar territory, like I'm in a familiar place.
Right.
And that was so amazing. That feeling was so amazing. And I tend to say to people who ask me that question about the NDE, I also think it's a very particular experience to you, meaning God with you and you with God. In other words, God knows you. Like I said, I was a professional student, right? I'm glad I shared that before the break, because I felt like I was in a classroom with God. Yeah, I really did. And it was just like this loving, like my child, you're here and there's things you need to know. There's things you need to hear. So I felt like I was, getting that information from God, but yet it felt like home. It felt like love. It was unconditional. Wow. Here on earth, we on this physical 3D world, none of us here know what unconditional love really is. I'm telling you. And I wouldn't want somebody to have to go through a near-death, Kat, to understand what I'm sharing about that unconditional love experience. I wouldn't want anybody to have to go through something like that. But I'm grateful I can come back to say that unconditional love is so unconditional. It's almost like the perfect child. You could do no wrong in God's eyes, right? But it's so loving. And it's like, listen, my child, I got things to say to you, You're kind of bebopping along, but it's so loving, right? And I felt like this student, this kid, and really what was happening, I mean, this happened 15 years ago, is that I was getting a download of how to come back and heal myself. And it was, yeah. Oh, yeah. And it was so, the way I describe it is like when you get something on your computer and you have to unpack it. It's like it comes in one of those little things you put in your computer, and then it unpacks it. Okay. And that's what it felt like. But it took a long time, Kat. This didn't take days or weeks. It took months and almost through a couple of years to unpack what it was trying to tell me. But it was helping me heal my cancer. It was giving me everything I needed to come back to understand. The professional student needed to know. Right. Right. It's like, you're going to go back and this is what you need to understand. And it took a while when after the near death in the intensive care unit and all of that chaos, talk about chaos and angst and tragedy. Yeah. You see all these nurses run towards you, right? And when my husband got me home is when things started to be said. And when he kept saying to me, that didn't happen. Like I was telling the doctor off, that didn't happen, honey. You weren't moving. You didn't scream the F word at the doctor, those kinds of things, because I said, oh no, I told him off. I need to go back and tell him how sorry I am. These things didn't happen. Or moving the EKG machine up to my face. So as days went on, more and more things happened, and things were literally, it was like unpacking something out of a backpack, and things were coming back to me, and these little messages and statements and memories. And I'm thinking, oh, something happened to me. Oh, something happened to me,
in a good way.
And Mike, in a good way. And Mike began to realize that too. And I, because I would be reciting things, and let me give you an example. I kept saying over and over the Lord's Prayer, because God told me it was one of the highest of vibrational prayers is the Lord's Prayer. God told me that. And Mike is just saying, why are you repeating this? Our Father who art in heaven. I would just sit there and just recite it and recite it and recite it and recite it. And it's like, is it the drugs? Is it the, no, I was told. I was told to recite that. Isn't that beautiful?
Yes.
Isn't it?
I love that.
Yeah. That was just the beginning. That was just the beginning of the information that was given to me. But those are the things that started to happen. And what I realized was the shift in consciousness. First, it opened everything up. I sensed everything. And if anybody has ever read Jill Bolte Taylor, her stroke of insight, she actually had a stroke, and she recounts what I'm sharing with you. She could read the energy in the room. She could read energy after having her stroke. And she is a neuroscientist, and she had a stroke. And so what she said in her book is what I experienced. I started reading energy. So all these different things that happened to me, I didn't know what was happening to me. I'm thinking, how come I'm reading energy? It was like a ticker tape going across a TV screen. I was literally reading people. Your mouth could move, but I was reading your energy, not listening to your words. Yeah. So I knew so many things. Yeah. Yeah. And especially when I'm calm and quiet and I'm not in a chaotic environment, because when you're just all involved in things, it's too loud for me. But when it starts to calm back down, oh, it's there. I call my antennas. They're up, and I just read. And but yeah, I mean, there's so many things I can share about the NDE that are just so powerful. And I hope to finish that book because I know it offers a lot about what I've been sharing so far tonight, about your vibration, about how you think, because the shift in consciousness, I realized how powerful the mind was. And I say that, Kat, because when I went to that EKG machine after I left my body, it was because I focused on it. I was thinking of it, talking to it. So I went to it. And that was like, even to this day, 15 years later, I'm thinking, does anybody realize how powerful your thoughts are? Your thoughts are so powerful that it alters even, the chemicals, as you talked about earlier, in your body. Your body responds to your thoughts. So could you imagine what God was giving me? It started with my thoughts. It's time to correct your thinking, girl. My child.
Had you felt defeatist before?
Yes. Yes.
And he taught you to adjust that.
Yeah. Yeah. In a beautiful, powerful way.
With the instructions on what to do, did you also come away with the knowledge of how to do them?
Yes. God gave me
that book.
Yeah, right? God gave me all of that, all of it. And that's why I do the work I do, because I'm thinking, how amazing is that, right?
Right.
Because truly, I wasn't supposed to be here. And I mean that seriously. I wasn't supposed to be here, but I am. And yeah, God,
if you weren't supposed to be here, you would not be here.
That's correct. That's correct.
Everything works out the way it's supposed to in the grand scheme.
And it did. And it did. And I'm so grateful. And can I share this equation, this spiritual equation that God gave me?
Please do.
It's so exciting. I love it so much because it took me probably Mike could probably tell you a lot better than me because he observed me going through this process of learning this. I did not get this spiritual equation, you guys, by God just saying, know this, A plus I equals V. That's the spiritual equation. That's not how it was given to me. It was a lot of information that needed to be broken down, and then I got it into the spiritual equation. And let me tell you what that is. A plus I equals V. God taught me about attention is the A. Attention. What are you giving your attention to? Is it draining you? Is it giving you life? Is it uplifting? Is it not uplifting? Because this is how my life was going until I was diagnosed. It's like, what are you giving your attention to? Is it to people who don't give, two hoots about you? Or are you giving it to people who feed you, who want to be around you? This was key. This was big because I came from a very bad childhood and bad upbringing. So I needed to understand that. And so that's A for attention. I was for intention. What are your intentions? Is your intention operating from ego? Are your intentions good for the greater good? Is it love? What are your intentions? Because that's going to determine a lot of things in your physical body too, right? So we got the A plus I, and God finally gave me the equals V vibration. A plus I, your attention, your intentions will give you your vibration. And that was what's going to alter your body chemistry and your entire physiological being. And you're going to nurse yourself back to health. You're going to get it straight. That's why I said your thoughts are very key and powerful. Consciousness has got to be one of the most essential parts of my healing process. Huge.
That's
Huge.
a discipline that sounds deceptively easy.
It's not easy.
It's not, is it?
No. That's why I said it was given to me in such a big amount of information and way. I got it down to that but if I have that in front of me, that A plus I equals V, it's something I can go back to and look at. How am I operating? Is my vibration up today? Or has it dropped to the floor? And I can look back at my A and I and know it's managed, Kat. I love that word. I had a very loving friend that has said that to me many years ago. And I'm telling you, I think it's probably one of the most helpful pieces of advice. Oh no, Rhonda, things aren't just, magically go away. Let's say, emotional wounds and scars. It's managed.
Yes.
Your checkbook is managed. Your weight is managed. And the moment she said that to me, I thought, that's all I needed to hear. That just took the weight off my shoulders of when people used to say, and this is when I was in my 20s, like, I thought I healed from that, that proverbial statement. I thought I healed from that, No, you're managing it.
Yes.
Isn't a better way of saying it so you don't put that pressure on yourself? I'm supposed to be all better now and healed from that and whatever. I manage my day. I manage my moods. I manage my experiences, my reactions. And so, no, I agree with you, Kat. It's not that easy, but at least I have something. So a beautiful frame of reference to work from, and to share that with other people. It's like, I've had people ask me to engrave that on something, and for Mike to engrave it, A plus I equals V. They want it on their desk. Attention plus intention equals vibration.
Yeah.
They wanted that.
I could see that.
Yeah, there it is. I mean, I could just share so much. And yes, I do need to write that and finish that book. I'm well onto it. It's all there, and I want to, because I know it's going to. Exactly. Right. Just what we're talking about tonight, when the time is right. And I hope I answered his question. There's so much to share about that. So I hope I gave enough to let you know how special that experience was. Not the way I wanted to go through it, but it was special because I can do something good with it, including for myself.
Robert shared what was given to him as an epiphany, which is similar, okay? But fear is darkness, faith is light, anger is weakness, and love is might.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
There it is. There it is.
Just beauty all around. This is so supposed to happen. I mean,
yes.
Yeah, we knew when we started talking about the show that this was not just us.
Oh, I felt it.
So
I felt it.
it's just so, to give people tools so that they feel confident that they are managing such an important word.
Isn't it?
Is just that's why we're here tonight. That was the motivation, I think, for us being brought together for this show. Because I knew that you were, getting ready to get situated and everything was going on. But I just felt like I need to ask her about this, because when I posted about the show online and I said, this was something that I felt basically called to do.
Yep.
There wasn't anyone else really that I was led to. And so then when we started, when I messaged you and you were messaging back, and I was looking at your page and I was like, oh, this was a bad time to do this. And then
it was the right time, girl.
A bad time. It was the right time.
It was, and I'm so grateful. Oh my God.
Me too. Me too, you. Because, a lot of times my dad used to get frustrated because, everybody has a tough adolescence and childhood sometimes. Nothing is perfect. No matter how much you try to shade it, nothing is all good. Nothing is all good. Everybody has issues. And my dad, when I got older, would say, you are much too old to be such a Pollyanna. And I'm like, I'm not a Pollyanna. I have not had everything peachy keno. And I know that there is negativity everywhere, but and it sometimes comes from the person that is supposed to be your safe zone, and but you have to be able to keep the positive side as you're coping with the negative, because if you succumb to all negative, right, then that's what you become, and then you're part of the problem as opposed to trying to help find a solution. Is that correct?
Right. Yes.
I mean, it's okay to Pollyanna when you're trying to help yourself through something. If you want to use the word Pollyanna. I mean,
Pollyanna. Yeah.
People know what that means, but it's I would get so mad at him because he was brilliant. And he was also not always the best person, right? But who is? And it took me a long time to get to a forgiving relationship with him. And I'm so thankful that I did. I was with my dad maybe up to an hour before he died, and I was in the next room when he did. And I was with my mother when she died. And both of those relationships had at times been just horrid. And I would never have thought that I would be in those positions. I actually had to tell my mom that if it was too much, it was okay. And it's really shocking how fast that changes.
It does, doesn't it?
It was like, I don't know. I mean, it wasn't horrid. It wasn't horrific, but it's like, it's okay if you can't do this. People are not.
You mean it's okay to let go? Is that what you're saying?
That's what,
to let go.
Well, because her nurse asked me if I was able to say that to her.
Yes.
Because
it's very important if you can.
She would stop breathing, and I was clueless. I didn't know what was going on. I would touch her collarbone, and say, Mom, breathe. And it didn't dawn on me until after the fact that what am I doing? She's trying to go. And then I am interrupting that.
Yeah.
I felt so bad afterward. And
you didn't know, Kat.
No,
You didn't
then,
know.
Well, let me tell you, when I told her that if it was too much, she could go.
Let go.
She opened her, and she had the most beautiful baby blues, but they were hard as steel when she looked at me, and she was like, why? And I was like, why? Okay. So I was so worried because I felt like my mom had been so mad at me when she passed. And I thought, there's so many different, why did I interrupt the process? Why is my sister not here? Why is this happening? There's so many things that why could have been. But I still think, I don't know if she was mad at the situation. I don't know. Or maybe that's just how people look. So it was the only time I'd seen anybody's face, right?
Mm.
And, it was an interesting transition, but I don't even know how I got here. I'm so sorry. But
no, you're doing fine. You're doing absolutely fine.
But people need to know that sometimes it's okay. Like I felt like a bull in a china shop.
Yeah.
Right? With how I handled that situation. But I was led to be there. I was meant to be there. And that was our final.
You were there. You were present,
yeah,
Kat. And that's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing. And remember, when they're exiting their body, they're in that in-between state. And if you believe that there are loved ones coming to greet her, okay, and see, and did she talk to them? Did she and their hands go up?
The bed
yep.
With their
hands. Yep. They do that. That's a natural part of the dying process. And they see, and there's a lot of people that don't know, and they're saying, there's nobody in the room. No, they're there. My near-death experience too. I'm telling you, they're there. Now that I've been out of body, I didn't see anyone
or people.
No, I didn't. And that was what's so interesting. But yet I felt I was in the presence of.
Right.
That's how I can explain it. It's like I didn't see, but yet I knew they were there.
Yes.
And God, and this energy of love, even though I couldn't see any, and it's probably a good thing. Here's what I will say about that. I'm grateful that I didn't see like my grandmother or anybody. I don't think I would have come back, Kat. I'm not kidding. It was like, oh, heck no. Yeah, I think it was good but I understood I was in a place of love, and it felt like home. It was the most comforting, loving, unconditional love that you could ever experience. And so I'm thinking this is, loving and great. And I'm grateful. I really am grateful I didn't see any loved ones. People probably say, oh, no, you would want to see them. No, because I love my grandmother, so much. Like, I wouldn't have come back, and my husband was in that room watching this happen. It's like, oh my gosh, no. I'm glad I came back. Oh, yeah. But I know they exist, and that's how I got into the paranormal. You all, Kat knows that I astrology and the paranormal. It's because of my near-death experience that drew me to that. Because here's the funny thing: they know that I know, and I know that they know. I've touched the other side, and they know. It's like, oh, girl, we know we could talk to you, right? And I'm not kidding. It's like we know we could. Yeah. They know they can, and I know about them. They're there, and so thank you for sharing about your mom. And if I can say, there's a beautiful lady on Instagram, and I encourage everyone, and it's a great topic. And she's a hospice nurse, and she talks about all these things openly because she wants to educate the world about hospice nurse Julie. If you ever go listen to her, she'll help you. She talks about the hands reaching up, seeing the visions and everything. And this is her daily job. And she just simply wants to educate and let you know you've done the best you could with your loved one. Because we're not all trained. We haven't sat and read books on how to sit with your loved one when they're passing. What will you see? What will you hear? What will, to help you and guide you through that, so you're feeling you're doing the best that you can too.
Well,
and I'm glad that she's doing that.
Well, I'm going to go and find her because hospice nurse Julie.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I actually had caregivers that would sit with my mom, whether I was there or not, if I had to go home and stuff. But the lady that was with me when my mom actually crossed, was her sister owned the business. They were stretched thin. There was a thing in the sister's husband's family that she had to go out of town for. So, Jeanette sat with me. And, she was just like worse than I was. I mean, because
was she a nurse? Was she a hospice nurse or?
No, my hospice nurse would come and go, and they, when I called to tell them that she was having trouble breathing, that wasn't the thing but they came not for her but for me, because the guy, they knew, and her hospice nurse that night was a male who was so compassionate and so caring. I'm sorry, not everybody should.
They're
be
amazing.
A hospice nurse, but,
I agree.
But if you are one and you're good at it, you are such a blessing.
Oh,
that is a God thing.
It is.
And
it is.
And it was so because when he left, if I'd had a drink, I'd have taken one, but I had a Coke. My Coca-Cola was sitting right there. And I just kind of girded my loins because I didn't want to have this conversation with my mom. And, because I felt like, and my dad waited for my sister to come, and she wasn't coming. And I had to tell him that because I knew why he was watching the door. And I had to do the same thing with my mother. And I told myself forever afterwards that was the reason she was asking why. And it may have been. I don't know why. But, it was, I had to tell them something that's why my dad was waiting. And, my mom, I just felt like that might be why she was waiting too, but,
and they will do that.
Yeah, they do.
Yep.
And so, but I know that my grandparents were there with her because, the only other person it could have been was my dad, and they'd been divorced since I was 12 or 13. So, although they did have a good relationship, my stepmother said at the end, because they would talk to each other and, she would ask them for advice and stuff. But, I don't know who exactly it was that she was stretching her arms out for. She wanted them.
Oh, yeah. It's loved ones. Definitely.
So,
yeah. They'll reach their hands out.
On such a tangent. But, I'm sorry. I am, because you have so much to share. But, you have answers to these things, and there's so much because, you have been given wisdom. If you don't want to call it divine wisdom, it's wisdom from the divine.
Oh, yeah, it is.
That was gifted to you to
gift
to us as a people. And, it's just so special. Just so special that you have that knowledge and that you are so willing to share that knowledge. And I guess I was kind of taking advantage of the moment, but I think other
No.
people have those questions too.
Oh, I'm used to this. These are common, normal to me. These are everyday type of things, even for me. Yeah. No, you didn't take advantage of nothing, my dear, at all.
Well, I always try to bring up things that I think are going to matter to our listeners.
Definitely. And these are those. These are definitely those.
And my other question for you is, with your near-death experience, what brought you back?
I think it was a lot because God was giving me this information. My husband was in the room, and in that hospital room as that was happening.
Right.
And it's like, one of the things that I told my husband is, and this may not mean anything to you, and I'll explain it, or to the listeners, is I kept saying, I want to get it. I want to get it. I wanted to come back, because in this physical body is how you can actually do a lot of work in raising your vibration and overcoming the life obstacles that I had gone through. And I kept saying, I want to get it, God. I want to get it, meaning I want to know why I went through the things I did, and I want to overcome it, meaning I want to understand why I do the things I do. In other words, attract certain things or go through certain things. I wanted to just get it, because I watched other people, because I didn't have that childhood life where it gave me what I needed to go out into the world and flourish, right? And so I had the opposite, where my husband had a good upbringing and a childhood, and I wanted to overcome these, and I wanted to get it. Like some people would say things like, I say, doesn't that bother you? I mean, with your family or no, I said, does it not bother you what they say? No, I don't care what other people say. I wanted to get there. I wanted to what they call arrive. I wanted to elevate. I wanted to get it. And I'm there, by the way. I've arrived in these last few years. You think the near death would have done that? No, it's taken me time. Yeah. I've arrived. But it doesn't mean I'm ready to check out, you all. I so bad wanted to come back.
Announcement on this show.
No, girl. But I wanted to get it. It's like, isn't that the strangest thing? I wanted to be with my husband and everything. I wanted to come back, but I really wanted to get it. I wanted to conquer those things. Well, and of course, I wanted to give to everybody what I was given. It feels good to. I want to. Yes, it's a gift, but it's like, I want to. It feels good to share that.
Well, and you
because I'm seeing what it's. Well, I love it. I'm passionate about it.
That's why you're good at it.
Thank you. Yes. I graciously accept that. Thank you, Kat. That means a lot. That means a lot to me.
Well, you mean a lot to a lot of people, because
that's what you said.
So strongly. I mean, it's a beautiful thing. So I think it's pretty awesome.
Thank you very much.
We are probably we've got to go take our final break right quick. But for everyone listening, don't you go away. We will be right back, and y'all come back too.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... Nope. That'll do. Hello, I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experienced Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Welcome back to the final segment here on Fate Magazine Radio, and I so hope that you have learned and had a great time and just thoroughly enjoyed Reverend Rhonda, Sister Sage, the divine astropsychologist. Take your pick. She is all of the above, and mainly she is a kind and loving person who is so great at helping others. She has a newsletter. She has Facebook pages where you can go, and I'm sorry, I go every morning. It's one of the first things I do is go and get the affirmation for the day. Between you and Ray Davis, Rhonda, I have the best affirmations every morning.
I love it. Oh God, I love it.
Well, I love that you do it. I mean, because were you so involved before your experience in uplifting others? Was that something that you took to the level that you do now?
I don't think so. I mean, I worked in the medical field and did massage therapy and that type of thing. So I probably did it on a different level, but nothing to the expansion that I feel I do now. It's like taking it to a whole new, deeper level.
Yeah.
Which makes total sense. I had a profound experience, and it took it to that level, and I'm grateful for it because it took it deeper like that.
Well, Ariel we're talking about Ariel Grace. Ariel is a psychic. She is gifted in her own right with lots of love as well as light to share. And she's just a neat person. But when she was so excited, we were on the same network for a bit when you were coming on, right? And it was such a big deal. And I was like, well, why is this such a big deal to you? She's like, you will see. And I did, right? But she was like, there's just no one like her. And when someone else who is a light bearer gets so excited when another light bearer is going to be in their sphere, that's really something. Because while carrying and sharing the light is an important thing, it's not generally something, it's just a peership as opposed to a tiership, right?
Right.
So,
yeah.
So it was interesting to me to see that because I am a light worker, and, again, not a Pollyanna. One of my friends said, oh, so many light workers, and they're all Pollyannas. Well, no, they're not. But sometimes people need someone standing in the gap for them, you know.
Yeah.
And that's what
I like
some
that.
of us do.
Yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I think it's a very godly gift, and I value it as such. It's really interesting. But,
I value it too.
And you do it brilliantly. It's
well, thank you. I really don't see myself that way. What you all see of me, I'm just like, okay, if you say so. Really, I mean that genuinely.
I know you do. But you know,
I'm grateful.
Really and truly, it's I mean, you are just like other people with that compassion and caring gift, and it is a gift. And I don't always have the compassion side, but I always have the caring side, because I'm more of a snap out of it. Yeah, come on, look at what's around you. You know, it is not all doom and gloom. And you know, I learned with a friend that you can't always help someone with that. It was
That's
a
true.
suicidal friend who there was nothing that short of being there and straitjacketing her, nothing was going to stop what was going to happen.
Yeah.
And I carried a lot of guilt for what she did.
Oh,
I was the last person she spoke with. And I felt like I should have done something, but she was too far away to drive to. And I felt her make the decision on the call. She had called me, or I called her because I felt her. And, you know, there was nothing. It was her second attempt in 3 weeks. It was a miracle she was there for the second attempt. But I felt the decision click. And, you know, you can't save everyone.
No.
And
you
what
can't.
do you offer? I mean, I am coming to grips with that and realizing my limitations and trying not to shoulder that blame. But how do you counsel people that don't know where to go with the trauma that they come into?
I think grief work is very important, highly important. I encourage, whether that's getting in a group of grief support. If books don't quite do it, then I encourage, if you feel that it helps more, to be with somebody in the grief type counseling. Edie Nathan is fantastic. And I don't know if you remember Edie with Chip Coffey. She's big into grief. Amazing with grief. I actually took one of her classes because I do the pastoral counseling. Yes, I did. Amazing. I mean, powerful. I so encourage that. I also encourage people, if you need to go, if you absolutely need to, get in touch with somebody on the suicide hotline. They are amazing. They are highly trained, and they know how to talk to you to help somebody else if you think they're about to do something. And I just went through something like that a few years ago, where I had to encourage my friend for her husband so he wouldn't do something. First, call them, because they will help you. They will talk to you and what to do, what to look for, what to seek. And you know, when they're determined, they're going to give you specifics sometimes. That's another thing that they tend to do. They're specific about how they're going to go do it. And you got to listen for that.
This person was not.
Okay.
But
lots of times they are.
She just kept saying she's hopeless, and she was in so much pain, and she just needed the pain to stop. And
understood. Those are the cues. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I encourage, even for you, if you ever in that situation, talk to the suicide hotline, because we're going to help you through it if you think somebody's about. And that's something that actually happened before we go off air here, that shooter called a friend, and this person actually tried to call the suicide. So I'm encouraging everybody, do that, please. Call the suicide hotline if you feel somebody's about to do something, if you're aware of it. Try not, and it's hard to say in a short amount of time, the grief that you carry that you couldn't do something or stop something. First of all, I'm sorry that you had to experience that or go through that, but to get some good grief support and help so you're not carrying that burden or that heaviness or shouldering that, because that's a lot to carry. Feeling that you couldn't stop it or change it, or if I just did this, you go through the what ifs, right? So I encourage people to get that comfort from grief counselors. It is wonderful, by the way. Yeah.
Well, I will reach out, because sometimes I think I'm fine, right? Just like everybody else that goes through.
You'll bump it every now and then.
And this wasn't someone that I had known for an extended length of time. We actually met on a trip. And she was so obviously alone. And I didn't find out until after that trip that she had lost a son to suicide, and his significant other couldn't cope and took their baby and moved. And so my friend didn't know where she had moved to. She was having trouble finding her. That was the only part left of her son. There were so many things that were tough for her already. And she was treated horribly when we were on our trip. We had a horrible, horrible tour company with that, had to split the group up because of poor planning and stuff. And this woman, who was already so alone, was sent off to someplace with people she didn't know away from the group. And I think that, there were a lot of different contributing factors of that nature through her life at that period, that this, what she had gone on to be an escape kind of piled on with. And, but by the same token, that's where she met people that she considered friends, and including me, and we didn't know each other but like a month.
Yeah.
So it was very odd that, because the first time she tried it,
it was a divine connection. That's a divine connection. Yeah.
It was a divine connection, and I felt like I didn't do what I was supposed to do. Like I failed in my assignment.
Yeah.
But then again, I didn't, because she had someone to talk to. And, the next morning, her neighbor who had, she sent me a text and said she died. And then she sent me, I was like, oh my God, I just spoke with her, and she sent me some more things, and I was like, oh. So, you've got to be careful what you ask for or what you accept as your role, right?
Yeah.
Because it's hard sometimes to be a person who does what you do. And just the little bit of it that I have and do can be difficult too. And but you should always have somebody like you who knows where to guide you to. If you're listening to this, if you're, like you were saying, if you're someone who knows or feels that someone is a threat to themselves or others, then especially, I think, with the others, because you can't always help them, because a lot of people do suicide by cop,
Yeah.
But,
they do.
I just think that the positivity that you help others bring is so good in situations like that. Like, knowing where to send someone, knowing how to lead by, divine intervention on your part, knowing that there are ways to help people, And, you know, I didn't really mean for the conversation about my friend to be such a downer. But
It's not a down. It's
like
human. It happens.
Now, you know.
Yeah.
It's a good
But this
thing.
is my training, Kat. This is also years of my training. You ask me these questions. It's also all my training, my pastoral counseling. I give credit to all my teachers and all my training that I've been through to answer these questions. Mm-hmm. So I give credit to that. That's why I could answer these as my pastoral training. I'm grateful for it. Thank God I have it, because it has come in handy, you know, and there are a lot of things that I can't stop it or prevent. And I want you to hear that too, Kat. You can't save the world. You can't.
Well, but I sure
You
do.
can't save everything. Girl, and so do I.
It's hard to turn that off.
And here we are. This is why you're doing this show. Look at what you're offering and providing, right? Well, which is wonderful wisdom and knowledge that can go out, and whoever's listening, they may be able to go help somebody or offer the same advice. So it does its little ripple effect. So you've done a beautiful thing, and I'm grateful again. I am so grateful when you asked me. I'm thinking, girl, you couldn't have asked for a better subject. I kid you not. This is just so amazing, and I'm grateful because you're helping a lot of people. You're making a big difference.
You know, because
you are.
That's what we do, right?
That's what we do. That's what we do.
It's our role and it's our assignment, and
it is.
It's important because the world needs more people like that.
Yes.
Like you.
And hope we inspire more people to be like this then.
I think so.
That's my hope.
I mean, how can they not? So,
right.
Thank you so much for joining me. And
thank
namaste.
You. Namaste, my dear.
And for all of our listeners out there, this will be available on YouTube, and probably I'll put it on Facebook. Wherever it shows up, I hope that you have enjoyed it. I hope that you will follow Rhonda, because, you know, there's so many different things that you can glean from a teacher like her. And even when she's not actively teaching, she is putting a message out that can change the world. It is changing the world. So thank you for being here. To all our listeners, thank you for being here. Whether you're listening to this, you know, live or in podcast format, I thank you. I appreciate you. And I hope that you have just a wonderful, wonderful week. And you know what? Go out there and be that change, because you can do it. I have absolute faith that we can be the change we want to see in the world. Make eye contact and smile, or, you know, whatever you feel safe and comfortable with. But be a friend that somebody would like, be a friend you'd like to have, right? So that being said, thank you all, and to all, a good night.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.